All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Fruits Basket, Season 2, Episode 6.
All right, last episode we met
wonderful.
Kureno, and it was a really sweet time with him and Uo.
Anytime we get Uo focus, I am very much there for that.
Yeah, and the time we spent with Uo and Kureno kind of getting to know each other really made us feel for Kureno, because now that we know that he works for Akito,
whatever that entails,
kind of see that he was either the replacement for Yuki, or at the very least, he's just one of the people like Yuki who is being, who Akito is using.
Right, now, is he his handler, his emotional support, person, or like
something darker? Well, we don't know. So that's where we're at with him. There's a lot of things about the way that he kind of interacted with the world, that shows that he's not very versed in things outside of the Soma estate.
He doesn't get a lot of time off. So, yeah.
Now, all this being said, getting that time with Uo and getting to see that she's like, okay, I do like him. I can tell that he likes me. There was a pseudo-confession of sorts that happened there. That is being left up in the air because it's probably going to be continued on at some point in the future. Could be this episode, could be later. But having that as just a thing out there, I'm really excited for how that develops with Toru's friends being, actually like characters with goals and
their own lives and people that they know. And but really if we end up just putting that off for a bit to get into like more summer shenanigans,
summer break stuff,
I am absolutely here for that.
Yeah, beach episode maybe eventually. Please get
someday.
But yeah, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. Oh, good episode. Good episode.
It's a lot of stuff brought up in this episode.
A lot of stuff brought up because I feel like we're getting into a new arc. I feel like this was a setup episode for the first episode of a mini arc or arc in the story.
Still at the vacation house, so
yeah. And
apparently Akito's going there.
Akito is probably going to go there. Now, there's a couple things that were refocused on this episode to like a varying degree of things, but a lot of them have this primary kind of theme running throughout them of being like internal secrets, hidden feelings, stuff that is things that people are keeping deep inside them and they're not really letting out.
Right.
We have Toru with the fact that she's still dealing with, on some level, her mom being gone, and it's something that she's not wanting to fully address.
Right.
So yeah, Hiro, you're right. She does have a little bit of a complex with that. 2, Yuki has some thoughts and feelings that have been going with him as he's been developing and changing so much.
Right.
Which, of course, that means then Akito has to show up soon to, screw things up.
Which makes me a little bit worried of what Shigure is getting out of wanting Akito to go there, but,
I think it's a way to bring about the downfall of Akito, ultimately.
I think so, yeah.
But it's just that he's seeing how strong everyone is together, especially the trio.
Sure.
Like, they're
pretty solid.
And also, if all of them are there,
then
Akito will be horrendously outnumbered.
Right. Akito won't be on his home turf, and so there will be
Right. So I think this is a situation where Akito can absolutely reveal himself to the audience of like, this is why I'm the head of the house.
Sure.
But he can also end up potentially shooting himself in the foot here by overplaying his hand in a way that doesn't work necessarily.
Right.
So that's all that. Also, Toru stuff with the hat and Yuki stuff with the hat being confirmed, because it was pretty obvious, but it was like, there was a small chance that it wasn't Yuki. It is Yuki. This is what's going on. He might have ran away at that point.
Right. And Toru might have had her memory altered so that she doesn't remember who it was. And that's why it's been, like, that's the meta reason for why we also haven't known about it and all the times that Toru thinks back on it, because she actually doesn't know herself.
No, she has no specific details, honed in there. And
Just,
also,
there was a boy that helped me.
Right. The specific ways in which her memory is fuzzy is also reminding us a lot of our resident doctor memory manipulator. In
Exactly.
That it's specifically the face of the boy, basically,
right.
in the flashback.
Yeah.
Is just
right. Strictly the information that they wouldn't want her to have.
Right.
Yep.
So, okay, why would they do that? Let's find out. I'm really,
like there's all the
I'm
usual
really
reasons they might have, of just okay, we don't want people to know about our our clan and what we can do and all of that stuff.
Right, but I'm wondering if there's that's the basic thing of that. But what if there's this huge chunk of stuff that happened after that?
Sure.
Because that's where I'm more thinking, is that there's stuff that happened in addition to the encounter.
Right, it wasn't just that he helped her in the woods and gave her the hat. There was probably other stuff that was the real problematic things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's all that. Mm-hmm. Then we also have,
Gure-Nisan and that whole encounter.
Right, so she is very clearly wanting physical sexual intimacy with him. Mm-hmm. Now, the thing that's important here is that the way in which she came to him here was very much I don't want to engage with the others.
Right, she waited till everyone else had left.
Yep.
Which, okay. 2, we also we saw how Shigure responded in the immediate, right? Of just very much like stoic,
I'm not sure I can meet your expectations.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Very
your boots are on the thing.
Civilly cold shoulder, it's the you're still wearing your boots, and it's they're high heel for a reason. But then we cut away from that, and we don't fully see how it ends up resolving. But we can know that Shigure was not surprised by this. Mm-mm. So he knows exactly what she wants. She is very much trying to make it clear, and yet there's an aspect of this that is okay, Shigure, how do you handle things here? And Shigure is probably one of the more mysterious characters in this whole story because it seems to be scheming here. He seems to be scheming against Akito. Sure.
He seems to also at times pretend like he's working with Akito. He seems to at times be shipping Toru, He seems to at times also try and play off that he's kind of trying to be the dad, uncle, kind of manager of this whole unique, not the Soma estate little group here.
Right. There are times when he prods the other characters for with the intentions of basically helping them develop because he believes they're at the point where the prodding won't be a problem.
Right.
But at the same time, that could potentially go in bad ways if he's wrong and
because he's not perfect.
He's not perfect, right?
And that is a thing that I would say people who are the elders, if you will, even though he's only 26 or what have you.
Right.
When you see basically the youngins trying to figure out shit, and you're like, I can't just give them the answer because they won't accept it. So how about I kind of, what do you think about that?
Right.
And yet because of, I forget her name.
What was her name?
Is
Rin. That's what it was.
Yes, that's right.
There are a lot of characters in this.
There are quite
show.
A few characters.
But one of the things I'm also wondering, because as far as comedic shticks, one of the ones that makes me a little bit uncomfortable is the whole thing of yes, Shigure has a thing for younger girls, but maybe he doesn't actually have a thing for younger girls, and it's actually a misunderstanding because of the fact that Rin made advances on him potentially multiple times, right? In the past, people find out about that, right? And then of course they think that Shigure is the one doing something, right?
Right. They blame Shigure, and maybe that's something
maybe
that
she does. Oh, sure, yeah, that's a good point.
Shigure, why
it's his fault, right. That could be all sorts of complicated, and that could also be a reason maybe why he doesn't live at the Soma estate anymore in the first place, because while he does have this home that he's setting up for everyone else, he was the first person, he would have been the first person to split. Maybe it was just to focus on writing, but maybe not. So
yeah, there's a couple things I'm not really sure about that are at play here. Now, I like that his goal ultimately is to go with them to the vacation house.
Yep.
But I feel like they're hinting at something here.
Yeah.
And this is something that I've wondered about. Why does Hattori have a power And no one else does thus far.
Right, as far as we've seen, it's just him.
I want to throw out the idea that Shigure has a power.
Really?
And it's being subtly hinted at in this episode.
Because she's basically wanting him to do something for her, not just the physical intimacy thing, but that there's... Yeah.
It's a mental thing. Well, I think that Shigure has a mild form of telepathy. I think that Shigure knew that she was there because he could sense her thoughts. I think that when she said, you know what I'm thinking, right? It's a literal thing of, you know what I'm thinking. Also, Shigure at times seems to know exactly what's going on in people's heads.
Yeah, and with the thing that I said about the prodding, that also could play into it too, of how he's able to feel comfortable prodding and not actually take it too far. Because there's an element of Shigure that almost feels like the cool, mysterious factor of him could actually go into some dangerous, unhealthy areas because everything just works out for him because he's so awesome, but like, why is it working out for him? Like, he doesn't necessarily have any way to guarantee that the plays that he does will cause, more good than harm,
Right. And I think that this is maybe the reason why he's scheming against Akito on some level, is that he's one of the few people that actually has something on Akito.
Okay.
And yet he cannot maybe reveal like what he's doing here. This is a super crackpot theory, but the idea is that if Akito is extremely powerful, like so powerful that no one can actually revolution against him, basically. Because I think that would have happened by now based on what an awful person is if it was actually possible.
Right.
Therefore, Shigure, I think, might be like, I can see the mess that is inside you, and I'm like,
and that's why he's so cocky whenever he's like interacting with Akito and looking at him.
Yeah, because he's just able to stay toe to toe with Akito in that regard.
Right.
Now it's just a question of does everyone know what all the Soma family members have as like powers?
Who knows?
There's no evidence to support the idea also that every Zodiac member has some kind of ability as well.
Right. The only potentially two that we would know about for sure based on definitions is Hattori with the memory manipulation and then Kyo as the cat with the alternate form. That's it.
And that's it. And both of those really are very different. Like Kyo's is more of a curse, like an actual like affliction.
Yep. Hattori's
is a thing that he can use if he wants.
Right. Hattori seems a lot more like Hana's situation, and maybe that's like, and maybe that's where Hana's came from. Is that it's the Somas wouldn't be able to exist if they didn't have someone who could wipe memories, so that way their secret doesn't get out. Cool. If you're going to do that, is that something that all of them have? Maybe I don't want all the Somas to have that. It's just a thing in the world where some people have those abilities, and then Hana, we'll make her actually have abilities too, as a way to show that like those do exist.
Those do exist, and in some ways, Hana is another example of someone that could then infer that there are other people like this as well.
Yep.
So that's all to say there. But then just getting into the idea that Akito is going to leave the estate, go directly to a place where all of them who are, what did he call them? He called them like, I think he said they're idiots and the ugly girl is so irritating.
Right.
So he's saying they're irritating. Maybe I'll have to teach them a lesson. So he very much has this like, I've been being lazy. I haven't, exercised my power. Perhaps I should remind them.
I've been the lion sleeping in my cave too long. Yeah.
Right. And I'm actually really excited about the fact that Shigure wants this, because then that means that Akito is...
It's not going to work out for him.
Well, no. It could work out on some level, but ultimately it's going to lead to his demise.
Right. And that's one of the things because like Shigure, I both trust him wholeheartedly, and at the same time...
I'm worried about him.
And at the same time, I don't fully trust him.
Like, because we don't know what he's willing to risk or sacrifice.
Exactly. Yeah. And the issue is that he's constantly making these decisions about other people's lives. That is not your place, Shigure. It's great that you give them a place to stay and everything, and you are very close to them, and you do help them grow and heal and all of that.
Yeah.
But it's not your place. And especially like if it's something where like it's just, just go over there like unannounced. Like you could totally tell them, hey, by the way, heads up, Akito's on its way. You know, like all sorts of little things because I could totally see where even if Akito ultimately, like in the long run, loses, he could cause immense amounts of damage before he does, right?
Yeah. And we don't know what he's capable of.
Yep.
But at the very least, Yuki is going to have a fucking heart attack.
Exactly. The fact that Hattori was like, "Hey, mind if I, go and take a shower?" Right? And he's like, "What? Of course, yeah, it's totally fine."
That wasn't Hattori. That was Hatsuharu.
Hatsuharu.
Yeah.
I would not. I was kind of expecting Akito to show up like at that moment when Toru's already been feeling down, when Yuki is, just sort of by himself and grappling with things and whatnot. I'm glad it didn't, but theoretically it still could based on when the next episode.
I think it's going to happen the next day, basically.
Yeah, probably. But that's just one of those things where from outside the show, as an audience member, I can only imagine that all of the hurt that happens within the context of this show will be resolved and healed, and by the end of it, right?
But we're not close to the end.
And the characters don't know that, and I don't want to have them have to go through any more than necessary, right? So,
that's the thing. This is not a thing where we can determine what's necessary.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And neither can Shigure.
And neither can Shigure, right? Yep. So we're in this uncomfortable setup where our great summer vacation beach episode arc kind of thing might literally get ruined and in the most meta way possible by having the Fire Nation equivalent attack.
Oh yeah.
During
and the biggest reason also why I'm nervous is because it's just sort of maybe a personal fantasy of mine. But I want when Akito,
Kyo. This hand.
Yeah. I want Kyo to do some crazy shit, but even more than that, I want Uo and Hana to be there because there's things with the Soma clan are complicated and weird, and while I trust that the ones that care about Toru will defy that and stand up to protect her against Akito, right? Uo and Hana would do a number on Akito, right? Like Uo would get a lead pipe from somewhere and start breaking his knees. And
remember when Kaguya in Love is War absolutely destroys that one person or girl in French? Like that would be Hanajima just and then she just like raises up
right exactly.
Like I would just want the darkest stares from Akito and Hanajima just
Akito's like, I have crazy awesome powers, and Hana's like,
bitch, please.
Cool. Okay.
That's nice. But then also Uo just jumping in and being like Reagan, like sudden, self-defense, and like this is one of Uo's special moves where she just yells special,
kicks him in the dick,
Kicks him in the dick,
But
all right, okay, wholesomeness aside, scariness aside, wholesomeness time now. We had some really good stuff with the main trio here. We have Yuki basically opening up to Toru, and that there's something that he's wanted to tell her for a while that is probably not just regarding the past. Probably not just
It could also be the I love you, by the way.
It could actually be that.
It could be the I love you, I was the one who gave you the hat.
There's a whole bunch of things there.
Yeah.
That's just like a tiny bit of it. We also had some really cool stuff with Hiro actually like doing his dumbass hero thing. And
Kisa laying the smack down.
Just being like, why do you gotta do that?
Yeah. Why do you come if you just want to make her time miserable?
Do you realize what that's setting up?
Akito.
Yeah. Why are you here?
Yeah.
Do you actually just want to make us miserable? Like
and
I am so excited for the fact that Akito could probably have the kind of power where he's like, if you're in the Soma clan, he has like
I own you.
I own you. Like you, like he says about Hattori here. Like
he lives for my sake.
He lives to serve me.
Right.
He can expend himself for my sake.
Yep. Like because that's again one of the other things where if Akito has phenomenal cosmic power or whatever, or
just control over the Zodiacs,
dominion over the Zodiacs, right?
Yeah.
Then that is another reason for why Shigure is so relatively passive and sort of like trying to influence things indirectly, because otherwise it's the Shigure, come on, be the protector dog,
Right. It's like how scared is Shigure of Akito and is just trying to keep it all
now
down,
granted, if Shigure is also going to the house, that is something that
I think he's definitely going.
Yeah, because he said he was going to go, and then he also tells Akito, so that's maybe one of the other reasons for it is I think the kids can handle it. In case they can't, I will be there.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like he's the kind of person that would sacrifice himself before literally anybody else.
Absolutely.
Though. Like,
yep.
that's his dog. Like, that's where he's like, no.
Right.
I'm a good boy.
The whole situation with Kisa, it was that he didn't know about that, not that he let it happen or didn't do anything, about it afterwards.
Right, you know. So, now that we have Hiro and Kisa having their little reconciliation moment here, I'm hopeful because now we can have a potentially united front of this whole cadre of characters here.
Right.
Hatsuharu would die for Yuki. Like, he's oh, I'd love him so much. We also, in this whole mix here, had a really cool moment with Kyo.
Yep, I love that.
Jumping into the water,
which was great. Cat doesn't like water, and whoa, how did he get onto that rock? And then, yep, that was great stuff. Yeah. But then also with the, hey, Hiro, what'd you do? What'd you do to Haru?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? She looks sad.
Toru. But yeah.
Damn it.
It's okay, man.
But then, he's all like, wait, he had just been thinking that she was actually like, doing a lot better. Okay, I guess, she's fine now.
Yeah.
And Kyo's like, no, she looks sad to me. And it's just,
it's so good.
Yeah, I love it.
There's so many things with it because Kyo has gotten so much more, I would say, comfortable and in tune with his own emotions that I feel like he's able to understand other people's emotions.
Yes.
Even more so. So the way in which he's interacting with Toru shows his love for her, but even more so shows that he's being really sensitive to others, not as a way to show off in any way, but just as no, this is what I'm practicing right now. This is something I'm getting better at.
Yep.
So yeah, I want this to be a moment where Akito looks at everyone and goes, who the fuck are all of you?
Right,
like,
exactly.
I don't recognize you.
Yep.
And then he looks at Toru and he's like, it's you.
Right,
and
he just knows that everyone's been leaving, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, there's a whole new family that's been forming completely separate from the cesspit that you have.
Yeah. And I want him to be confused. I want him to be like, why? Yeah. And I want him to, in some ways, I want him to have that moment where he exercises whatever his power is.
He lashes out, basically.
And it's the thing of where they all just sit there and take it, and then he's just railing at nothing. Like, what the fuck is this? What is going on? And he's just angry, and he's, blah. And then it's like, Shigure's just sitting in the back, like, smiling, just like, you
bitch.
Idiot. Yeah. I got you. You're going to be spinning with this. You're going to be spinning with this. You're going to go home and try to sleep, and you won't be able to. You're going to be like, what am I missing? Like, what is going on here?
Because I feel like what Shigure's after here, like the vibe that I've gotten from him is that he is after a deeper kind of revenge on Akito.
Well, there's a curse over the Soma family, which is obviously the Zodiac kind of shenanigans and stuff.
Totally. But that the and maybe this is where like sort of like the the telepathy thing feels like it kind of fits.
Okay.
Is that he is not physically doing anything to Akito or making it so Akito won't do this stuff.
Right.
But he is trying to get at Akito up here. Right.
Yeah, and in here.
And in here, right? Yeah. Whatever's there.
Hopefully there's a tiny little Grinched thing in there.
Yeah, a little scorched, withered something. But and that maybe that's why he's doing this, because he's wanting he's wanting to make sure that Akito sees you don't have hold over them. And then how are you gonna deal with that? Sad little king of a sad little hill.
See, my favorite thing in stories that have a fantastical element is I love the idea of the antagonistic force being so oppressively powerful because it represents something that is intrinsic in all of humanity. Okay?
Right. All of the things that even if they're not literally like cosmically powerful, they can certainly feel that way to us, or actually be that way.
That when they go and they unleash their power, the frail, feeble, regular humans can look at that and just be like, no.
Yep. Stand against it.
And it's painful. It's a struggle. It's kind of the it's a bit esoteric, but I'm trying to get at the idea of there are aspects about human nature that we'll never necessarily entirely overcome until we become robots and all that. But the idea that you can personalize an aspect of that in a villain like Akito.
Sure.
And then you can also personalize the hopeful aspect in that we will keep struggling against whatever that thing is, but we will overcome it by the nature of the bonds that we forge, the connections, the friends we made along the way, and all that.
And by scaling up the power of fighting against it
in some kind of fantastical way.
And the thing that is that we have to deal with, then it can take something that could be an issue that someone might actually potentially trivialize in the real world.
Sure.
And just be like, oh, that's not that big of a deal. And be like, no.
We're going to put a magnifying glass on that shit.
Right. And to the person, it could be this huge thing.
Right.
To Yuki, right? He had, we saw some of the things that Akito said to him, right?
Some details.
And I could totally see just some jerk being like, oh, well, that's not that big of a deal, right? Just don't listen to the things he says.
Just don't listen to him for
it. Right, exactly, But
just be happy.
But in this situation, no. If Akito's cosmically powerful, right, then that adds a whole other layer to it, right?
Because his words have power independent of that, but adding into the idea that no, Yuki really does have no escape in that moment.
Yeah.
Yuki really is trapped in
He was a powerless victim
prison.
at that point.
He had no salvation.
Yep.
And maybe at a brief moment he was able to get away, and Toru gave him a picture of what that salvation looked like.
Sure. Yeah.
And it started to change Yuki's mind. It started to break the brainwashing over him or something. And then it was more than just a thing of where, Toru had her memory altered in some way. Maybe Yuki had his kind of experience with the whole thing changed in some way.
Yeah, I could totally see it being something where it ended up being even more traumatizing because all of a sudden he gets the hope that things could be different.
Yeah.
He sees someone like Toru, right? Maybe they make a connection,
and then all of a sudden,
they're just friends or whatever, right? And then all of a sudden,
someone else.
And then all of a sudden, at the very least, she gets her memory wiped. But whatever Akito would do in response to that, right?
He might have hurt him really badly.
I can't imagine, so. I could definitely see that being one of the things that helped cement Akito's hold over Yuki before it got to the point where Yuki was able to leave and go stay with Shigure.
And to go even deeper here, because this is something I'm really loving in season 2 thus far, Yuki is getting way more focused than he did as a ratio kind of thing with regards to the episode's length and stuff, because the episodes in season 1 were primarily about introducing a lot of the new cast.
Yeah, introducing a lot of the cast, and because Yuki as a character is very soft-spoken, it was easy for him to sort of fade into the background a bit.
Yeah, especially after he had his stuff with the garden and everything, and he'd been primarily introduced.
Right.
So now, getting all this development with him, I really feel like there's some deep-seated emotions tied to the fact that he still remembers that was her.
Yeah.
Because I think on some level that wasn't wiped from him.
Right.
Because that, like you said, it provides the contrast for Akito to manipulate. But that he then has paragonized her in some way. Like, he remembers her as being a source of his salvation, and that's why he has all these strong feelings connected to her.
Totally.
And maybe that's a whole aspect of his... because he definitely crushes on her.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But it's the question of, why does he crush on her?
Sure.
Does he crush on her in a genuine way, or is he crush on her because he's like...
The idea of what she meant to him back then.
Yeah, exactly. You were the picture of my hope all this time, and I didn't even know who you were.
Yep.
But then I stumble upon you because you ended up basically coming over to our little house because you were in a tent,
right?
Out there, and it's like you've shaken up my whole world since then, and now I'm changing for the better. And this is something where I have to thank you. I have to thank you for this, but I also have to tell you that in some ways, like maybe I've idolized you, maybe I've put you up on this very unique pedestal.
Yeah, I feel like with Yuki. In season 1, we were kind of meeting the persona of Yuki, not actually meeting the real Yuki, right? Because there was there was what he put out front,
right?
When he's dealing with Kyo or other people, at school. Oh yeah, he's the charming person. Even all the times that he would kind of flirt with Toru and be like turn on the charm that he knew he had access to. Yeah, that almost felt like it was something of just the.
He was being the prince.
You're right. He's being the prince because he doesn't really know how to be around people because, he's got a lot of brokenness inside that he's working on, right?
Yeah, that's why this season brought up Kureno to be here's another example of what Yuki kind of was, just older,
Exactly. Yeah. And so now that Yuki's getting a lot more confident, that's where that really meaty focus I feel like comes from. And of course we love to see it. Yep.
Yeah,
and
that
the vulnerability
is going to be coming. Yeah.
And hey, if he ends up being able to also stand up to Akito when Akito shows up, that would be fucking awesome.
I really feel like the scariest part of this whole thing being that Akito's going to be there is that Akito's going to not confront them immediately. It's going to be a thing of where he's like, all right, now
he's
I'm
just
here.
going to let his presence sort of
He's just going to sit there and be like, all right, what are we doing?
And I could totally see that happening, and maybe it'll like ruin the mood.
He's the family member that invites himself over to things, and it's like, no one wants you here, dude.
Right.
And
at
also,
the same
no one
time,
can kick him out necessarily.
Right, until he does something, egregious or whatever. But I feel like if he he could totally try that at the beginning, and maybe it works for a little bit, but then eventually they'll just go back to what they were doing, and then it'll be like, shit, wait, I thought I was supposed to be the one in power. Why are they forgetting that I'm here?
Do you know what I just realized, Jacob?
What?
Two little things here.
Okay.
Why did we focus on Hiro this episode?
Because it's a parallel to Akito's whole situation, and to get all the people on the same front.
Mm-hmm. So then, who's going to lead the charge against Akito? Who has the most powerful reason to just jump right in the face of Akito?
Oh yeah, Hiro. Because of what he did to Kisa.
Because of what he did to Kisa. Not only that, that he then would see an even worse version of himself coming in and being like, I'm going to make things horrible for them here. And he's going to be like, what do you know about their feelings? And what is his name? Hiro.
Yeah.
What does a hero do?
Okay, I mean,
I'm genuinely terrified for this kid here.
No,
I'm genuinely worried for Hiro, actually.
No, I think Hiro's actually going to be okay.
No, think about it. If he is the one that has the least amount, like he's one of the youngest ones there, he has the least amount of time spent with Akito in presence, and comparatively to the amount of hatred he probably has for Akito.
And physically, he is one of the people that would absolutely be at Akito's mercy.
Well, I mean, they're all probably at Akito's mercy.
Well, even without the cosmic power type stuff, Like Akito could absolutely go ham on him the same way he did with Kisa, and he wouldn't really be able to stop it if, like, they were alone or something like that.
And I also think this is the kind of thing where the show is trying to be like, hey, we know you hated Hiro back in season 1.
But he's about to do an awesome.
He's about to do an awesome. We're setting up the reason why he's going to do an awesome. But not only that, we're going to make you cry for this kid that you hated in season 1.
See,
I'm calling it right now. That's what's going to happen.
Cry tears of joy, not because Akito beats the shit out of him or anything. If Akito starts beating the shit out of anybody,
changed, basically,
right, exactly. Yeah. If Akito starts actually physically beating anyone, I want the same violence plus then some to be done to Akito, and because the stuff that they're
we're gonna get that.
No, I know.
We can get that.
Right, and that's why I don't want it to happen here, because the stuff that Akito does, it is something that is very effective at making me hate him as a character, but it is also a very sensitive subject, and having characters, even if they use words or whatever to be like, don't do that, or they try and stop it or whatever,
or trying to get at him psychologically.
Like, there are
the reason why you do this,
You're right. There can be elements of basically passivity that are complicitness, and that's something that I do not want to touch or cast at all.
I know, but I think that the inevitable fact is that is not what the stakes are here.
Right.
The stakes are not whether or not he's going to beat someone up. I think Akito is absolutely going to abuse his power.
Yeah,
and
he's going to be fully awful
multiple times before this show is over.
Yes.
It's the idea of we now will find out why everyone has been so passive around Akito.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited for that explanation, because I feel like with the amount of really good character work they're doing, especially on our main trio here with Kyo, Yuki, and Toru, I think Akito has been very cleanly written in the background, so that whenever this dramatic confrontation happens, we're going to be like, oh, fuck, you know. But all right, I know exactly now how Akito's going to get beaten.
Right.
Because if we then know what he can do, we'll then find out what he can't do. And that's going to be...
that's one of the reasons why I really want Hana and Uo here, is because there's this part of me that's like, okay, maybe his power just extends to the Zodiacs. Because one of the theories we have is, what if he actually isn't a Zodiac member, he's the person that brought the Zodiacs together. That would be a great reason for why he maybe has power over them. But if you have Uo and Hana there, oh, they care.
Can they basically then... make the rule of sorts obsolete by then, we deny your summoning, basically.
Yeah, something like that,
But to be fair, this is another thing that's been subtly inferred, is that there's a lot of people in the
in the Soma family,
in the Zodiac specifically, that have been like, we don't respond to the summoning, basically.
That's true.
And Akito could not or he decided not to make them come. That's probably where his power is something where he probably can use it, but he doesn't necessarily use it all the time. And it's more the worry of what he's talking about with Shigure right here of, do I need to teach them a lesson? Basically a thing of where he's not truly he's not truly omnipotent. It's the idea that he is maybe extremely powerful, but he's not omniscient, you know? He doesn't know literally everything.
Yep.
He might be like literally god level power, but it's just, if you're in his presence, then you're at risk.
Or
because he's still pretty much, a human being, all things considered.
And he still wants to basically have his subjects to rule over. There's a reason
where they want this,
Right, there's a reason. Yeah, exactly. There's a reason why he beats people up, but then it's not like he exiles them from the family or anything like that.
No. He's
wants
dependent.
Yeah, exactly.
I also really love in some ways how we built up Akito. He is Johan, but in Fruits Basket. Like one of my favorite things.
And the fact that we have Johan in Fruits Basket terrifies me.
Right. Because Johan in Monster, one of the best anime villains of all time, is so terrifying when he's not even there. Just the presence of his effect. Akito is in a slice of life romantic dramedy.
Right. Why?
Why is he here?
Yep.
I mean, yes, there's the fantastical sides of things, of course.
Totally.
Yeah.
But at the same time.
Right.
And,
all right.
And we know that it's, let's be real. Akito in the end isn't going to be defeated by a fight of some kind, right? No, that's not how it's going to go. It's going to be a change of the heart, not a change of the body. But at the same time, that might be something that is, that does.
Yeah,
I don't
know. I will say my final thing for this episode is that I love that if this is going to be the first real hard confrontation with Akito, because Akito did go to the school that one time.
He did. Yep.
And he met Toru, and that was a very uncomfortable scene.
Yep.
I love the fact that in that bit, Akito didn't feel like he was someone that could really that he could really do that much to Toru directly. If in this what's coming up next here, if he basically lays into Toru and Toru's the one that suffers the most from all this here, I am really excited for the ways in which everybody basically does their best to protect Toru, but it's a thing of where this forces, because I think this is what Hiro, on a meta sense, was here to represent, is he's forcing a little bit of Toru's development to the surface, and that she has to confront this now. But she's in a really good environment for it right now. She's around a lot of people that really care about her.
Yeah.
So that means that if Akito forces a plot kind of level development, there's a lot of people that will be able to process this after, and that will, I think, overall be really good for Toru.
I think so.
But it will be painful.
But, maybe get the brass knuckles ready, Kyo.
Maybe Kyo just, be ready to go ape shit. Just
Toru has accepted your form. So, if you needed to take that bracelet off, you could.
But I mean,
yeah.
All right, y'all. Thank you for watching this episode's reaction discussion. We got our beach episode finally, and we might get beach episode 2.0 before Akito shows up.
Possibly.
It's possible. But yeah, thank you so much. Be sure to check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and any level of support there gets you access to our Discord, where you can chat with us in the anime community there about anime, shows, Fruits Basket, what have you. And also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.